We begin in the British National History Museum. There's a tour group walking around in, the Egypt exhibit. The tour guide is talking about the great pharaohs of the times until they come across this giant stone tablet. The tour guide says that it basically holds an incantation that can reanimate the dead. And he says the incantation, but someone in the tour group corrects his grammar. He glares behind him and turns around, congratulating the person that, they got it right after he's been saying it wrong all these years. But then the camera pans to where we discover a mummy has awakened. It has a toothy grin and some sort of pharaoh metal beard thingy, and it laughs. The mummy steps down from its coffin thingy, but the tour guide turns around. What was that? They hear him. So he scurries around, so he's hiding from them. And then we cut to the POV of the tour group. There's nothing there. The tour guide's must have been nothing. Anyways, and then as he's talking, we see the mummy, who's called Pepi II, is crawling or climbing up the stack thingy. He bonks one of the coffins, bonk bonk, and it opens up as he climbs up. The tour guide says, "This is from the reign of Pepi II. Pepi turns around. The tour guide continues. The beginning of Egypt's decline. Pepe's face contorts with rage. He sprints across the platform thingy and leaps at the tour guide. He grabs him and he throws him to the ground. He punches him in the face. The crowd looks on with horror. And then we jump to the tour guide's perspective as we see two dark shapes blocking out his vision of Pepi. And then we realize, oh my god, Pepe's gouging his eyes out. Damn! This is slightly less detailed, but the tour guide's hands rip Pepe's chest open, revealing guts and tendrils. Then we cut to a close-up of Pepe's thumb jamming into his eye. And we cut away to his mouth screaming as blood streaks down from his gouged out eyes. The tour group looks on in fear and amazement as we see in the background more mummies escape. Pepi throws the arms of the tour guides away as his guts spill out all over his victim. And the tour group looks around them to see that they're surrounded by mummies. Boom, boom, boom. The end. Pepi is clutching the organs and intestines that fell out of the hole that was ripped open in his chest. Then he extends an arm. His hand brushes on the face of a lady in the tour group and closes around her throat. He squeezes and pulls out her throat. Damn! Then she spins and falls to the ground dead. Pepi opens his mouth up and lowers the throat into his gaping maw. A man is holding the corpse of the lady, possibly his friend, possibly more, who knows. And he's like, what did these people do to deserve this? Pepe's mouth contorts in a savage grin. And then he speaks. Stolen from our final resting place, our lives put on display for mockery and ridicule. You've colonized our people. Your friend pulled us from the spirit plane with her spell. Really, you should be apologizing to us. Pepi grasps the head of the man and turns to his friends. A new race of weaklings for us to conquer! The mummies are hugging and stuff because they're bros. And the man closes his eyes in thought. Then he opens them up with a newfound determination. The Englishman is a strong person. No, the Englishman is strong. We will never bow down to you. Pepe's hand leaves the head of his victim and he stretches it out, expecting something. He's handed a jar of eyeballs, preserved over the years. He holds it in front of him with a grin and says, "We have ways of making people follow our command." The eyeballs project a swirling kind of weird distortion of light, and the man is hypnotized. His last face of his own free will is that of horror and sorrow. We then jump cut to a missing poster of him. We zoom out to see that the poster is one of hundreds on a telephone booth, right? And inside the booth there is a lady talking to her friend. Yes, Margaret, I've heard another person disappeared. No, these aren't mummies, Margaret. We're just experiencing a crime spike. Don't be absurd. People disappear. It's what they do. But the lady doesn't see the shadows in the window. She exits the phone booth, and for a brief second, there is silence. And then she realizes she's surrounded by the dead. The lady crumples into a ball, and Pepe gets closer and closer. There's another mummy who's just standing there, saying nothing. And then they both get hit by jets of water. It's the firemen. They're fighting the mummies with hoses. Pepe and his friend get launched into the air and fall to the ground. When Pepe gets up, his bandages are all soggy. He can't breathe, can't see, can hardly move comfortably. He tears the bandages from his face, revealing his skull. Then we see the attackers. It's not just the firemen, but it's also the police. A police constable is holding a megaphone, and he says, "Well, boys, looks like we've found ourselves some mummies. Mummies, put your hands in the air and surrender quietly. We've finally found them." Pepe raises his hands to his mouth. "It's the coppers, boys! Run!" The mummies run away. The lady is scared, but then she looks up, almost a little disappointed. The police guy raises his finger and points to them. "Don't let those mummies get away." The cars zip off, and they chase the mummies. The mummies go down an alleyway, and the police cars get stuck. One of the officers is like, "Shoot! They went down an alley." Another one's like, "Oh my god, they're heading for Parliament." We find ourselves inside Parliament, where Winston Churchill is discussing things in a great speech, but then he peers across the hall and sees Pepe II holding the hypnotism jar. His brain morphs and mutates as his mind is being controlled. With their new puppet, the mummies are able to colonize Britain. They build Egyptian architecture everywhere so that the London skyline and other places are almost unrecognizable. They even have the gall to rearrange Stonehenge into a pyramid. Mummies took the oppression of their people very seriously. The end.